this up, another Greek philosopher named Zeno comes up with a few paradoxes, the most famous of which is the one that says basically, and I think most people know about this one is usually just termed Zeno's paradox, but it says that, okay, imagine a distance of like this length here, and imagine if I moved, in order to move from here to here, I would have to move halfway. And if I kept dividing in half, I moved halfway, and then I would move halfway between here and here, that would be a fourth, and then an eighth, and I'd have to moving halfway over and over and over again ad infinitum. And if I kept having to move in halves, then I would never reach my actual final destination. But I do reach my final destination. So how is that possible? And they said, well, it's just illusion. Change is an illusion. Your entire life is an illusion. It really made no sense. But that is really the kind of the consequence of any materialistic philosophy. And this is kind of applying now this concept, more broadly speaking, to materialism. When you don't have some overarching principle to explain change, then all you have is this paradox of endless change. You get absurdity. And that is what like materialism is founded on, is this idea that everything is material, while material reality is infinitely divisible, and therefore if a philosophy founded on this is going to find itself in certain paradoxes of this sort. In order to solve this paradox, in comes Aristotle. Aristotle, the Thomas Aquinas sometimes refers to him as the philosopher. Very astute, erudite individual, very important in ecclesiology and in philosophy, scholastic philosophy, that is to say. And so Aristotle comes along, and he says, he creates this principle in which we can understand change. He says that there is the act of change, and then there's the potential to engage in change. So, for example, let me see it. If I have my matches, right now I have a match, okay? It's just static, okay? And so it has the potential to light on fire, but it has not been actualized yet. And so when I apply motion to it, do this, it becomes actual. The potential to create fire becomes actualized. I went out fast. Okay. So that's kind of the framework in which he was able to describe change, is through this principle of act and potency. And he believed it was inherent within the substance of different, and like depending on form and matter. But we don't really need to go into all those details. All you need to know is that there was this problem of endless change, and the way Aristotle solved it was by having an unchangeable principle. And it had to be an unchangeable principle in which we could explain and describe change, because if this principle was subject to change, then you would have to explain that which was changing the principle. You'd have to, and then you'd have this infinite regress. And this is kind of where Aristotle began to develop the idea of the unmoved mover. You have to have something that is motionless, and that is the principle, because without some principle that is unmoved, all you have is paradox, and we cannot have paradox. We have to have some no one lives in a paradoxical world. We all live with change, and therefore we'd have to have some unmoved principle to explain it. And the answer to Zeno's paradox, therefore, is that there's a potential for an infinite number of like segments. You can go half, a quarter, an eighth, a 16th, etc. There's the potential to do that, but that is not actualized. This infinite succession is not actualized. Rather, the succession to move from here to here is actualized. The potential to be infinite like approaching is not actualized. And so that is how Aristotle was able to solve Zeno's paradox.